রোহিঙ্গা সংকট নিয়ে 3 দিনের আন্তর্জাতিক সংলাপে অংশ নিতে কক্সবাজারে আসেন অন্তর্বর্তী সরকারের প্রধান উপদেষ্টা অধ্যাপক ডক্টর মোহাম্মদ ইউনূস। আজ সোমবার 25 আগস্ট সকাল 10:30টায় বিমান বাংলাদেশ এয়ারলাইন্সের একটি ফ্লাইটে তিনি কক্সবাজার পৌঁছান। এরপর কক্সবাজার বিমানবন্দরে তাকে স্বাগত জানান কক্সবাজারের জেলা প্রশাসক, পুলিশ সুপার সহ ঊর্ধ্বতন কর্মকর্তারা। কক্সবাজার বিমানবন্দরেই তাকে গার্ড অব অনার প্রদান করা হয়। এরপর রোহিঙ্গা সংকট মোকাবেলায় আন্তর্জাতিক সহযোগিতা ও প্রত্যাবাসন প্রক্রিয়ায় টেকসই সমাধানের লক্ষ্যে কক্সবাজারে শুরু হওয়া 3 দিনের আন্তর্জাতিক সম্মেলনে যোগ দেন প্রধান উপদেষ্টা। সম্মেলনের মূল অধিবেশনে প্রধান অতিথি হিসেবে উপস্থিত ছিলেন বাংলাদেশের অন্তর্বর্তীকালীন সরকারের প্রধান উপদেষ্টা প্রফেসর মোহাম্মদ ইউনূস। উখিয়ার ইনানীর সেনাবাহিনী পরিচালিত বেওয়াস হোটেলের সম্মেলন কক্ষে এই সম্মেলন অনুষ্ঠিত হয়। সম্মেলনে প্রধান উপদেষ্টা ডক্টর মোহাম্মদ ইউনূস বাংলাদেশের অবস্থান তুলে ধরেন এবং রোহিঙ্গা সংকট মোকাবেলায় আন্তর্জাতিক সম্প্রদায়ের কাছে কার্যকর সহযোগিতা কামনা করেন। সম্মেলনে প্রধান অতিথির বক্তব্য রাখতে গিয়ে প্রধান উপদেষ্টা প্রফেসর মোহাম্মদ ইউনূস বলেন,
Good morning. Distinguished representatives of the governments, UN agencies and international organizations, excellencies, friends from the media, my dear Rohingya brothers and sisters, and ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. I am happy to speak at this very important stakeholders dialogue in Cox's Bazar today. I would like to thank all of you for your presence and participation, active participation in this very important dialogue. I come here at a very important moment in our political history. 1 year back, we have gone through a killing spree and followed by student uprising, student-led uprising to free the country from the fascist regime. Now we are ready for another transition in our political history. We have announced the time for election. It's just about a year back, we had the uprising mixed with the killing spree. And the country has come to be stable enough and ready to have the election. So we announced the election in the first half of February 2026. Interim government will be replaced by an elected government. We hope we can work out a solution to the Rohingya problem to let them go back to their own home. As a part of this transition process that we are going through, it will be complete when we see we have also achieved this goal to have all our Rohingya guests to return to their own home in their own environment. On the 8th Rohingya Genocide Remembrance Day, with a heavy heart, I draw your attention to the forced displacement of Rohingyas and their exodus to Bangladesh from Myanmar. In a spate of only few weeks, in August 2017, around 800,000 Rohingyas crossed into Bangladesh. They came to Bangladesh to save their lives. Unfortunately, the barbaric attack and persecution still persists. Hence, we see fresh arrivals at our doorsteps every day. On this fateful day, it is our moral responsibility to take the right side of history and stop the armed actors from carrying out their horrible design of ethnic cleansing of the entire Rohingya population. It will be a historic blunder if we wait for seeing the very last Rohingya living Rakhine. We cannot let it happen. International commitment is to help the Rohingyas to go back to their own home. When Secretary General came in March here to be with the Rohingyas during the month of fasting, and he himself gone through the fasting for the whole day and meet for iftar, breaking of the fast, with nearly 100,000 or 150,000 Rohingyas around him, giving them hope that the world is with them and help them to go back their home and celebrate those festivals like Eid al-Fitr back home rather than here in the camps. We see fearful and shuttered eyes of Rohingya women and men when they appear at our doorsteps with horrific stories. The stories include, among others, systematic persecution, denial of nationality, forced deportation, mass killing, rape, inhuman torture, destruction of their properties in arson, and so on and so on. That is why in 2017, and even before that, Bangladesh opened its border to the Rohingya in a humanitarian gesture to save their lives despite resource and capacity constraints. This manifests our empathy and compassion towards fellow human beings during their gravest humanitarian crisis. We don't afford anymore to stand silent at the protracted situation of the Rohingyas. Hence, we urge upon the international community to undertake collective efforts to stop the Myanmar junta and the Arakan army from unleashing violence against Rohingya. Effective role of the international community is much more needed than ever before. Excellencies and distinguished guests, I acknowledge the continued support, assistance, and solidarity of the donors, our partners, UN agencies, international organizations, and friends across the globe to the Rohingyas sheltered in Bangladesh. We greatly value your compassion and continued partnership for the Rohingyas. Your continued support will remain pivotal and exigent until they return home. Bangladesh now hosts 1.3 million forcibly displaced Rohingyas from Myanmar. That makes Cox's Bazar the largest refugee camp in the world. In addition, around 32,000 new babies are born each year in these camps. On the contrary, only less than 500,000 of them are living in Myanmar. This picture manifests that due to continued persecution, Rohingyas continue to leave Myanmar. During last 8 years, people of Bangladesh, in particular the host community here in Cox's Bazar, have been making tremendous sacrifices. The impact on our economy, resources, environment, and ecosystem, society, and governance have been huge. I thank our host community and the people of Bangladesh for their wholehearted support and enormous sacrifices for the Rohingyas. We don't foresee any scope whatsoever for further mobilization of resources from our domestic resources, given our own challenges. Rohingya issue and its sustainable resolution must be kept alive on the global agenda as they need our support until they return home. In that spirit of solidarity, during the last Ramadan in March this year, the Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, and I joined with over 100,000 Rohingyas in an iftar in Cox's Bazar, as I mentioned before. I take this occasion to thank the Secretary General on behalf of all the Bangladeshis and all the people in the camp and all the Rohingyas, wherever they are. That was a wonderful gesture he did, and uplifted the morale of all the people in Bangladesh and the Rohingyas, particularly around the world. You may recall that last year in the United Nations General Assembly, I made a 3-point proposition to address the Rohingya crisis. In recognition of my call, the high-level conference was envisaged for this year's General Assembly. I hope that this dialogue here in Cox's Bazar will contribute substantively to the conference in New York in shaping the roadmap for an expedited and permanent solution of the Rohingya crisis. My Rohingya brothers and sisters, Bangladesh supports and is working relentlessly for a sustainable solution to your crisis. This dialogue is aimed at amplifying your voice and rolling out a roadmap towards early, voluntary, and sustainable return to your homeland. Distinguished participants, it is not only the responsibility of Bangladesh, but also of the international community to share the burden of the Rohingya crisis, to reflect on the possible solutions, and to play an active role in implementing them. In going forward towards these objectives, I propose the following 7 points. First point, umbilical relationship of Rohingyas with their homeland cannot be severed. So their right to return to their own home and homeland has to be secured. Therefore, we urge all parties and partners to work hard for charting a practical roadmap for their speedy, safe, and dignified, voluntary, and sustainable return to their homes in Rakhine as soon as possible. We must not be held hostage to mere rhetoric. The time is for action right now. Second point, undiminished contribution of donors and humanitarian partners is essential to ensure continuity of life-saving programs. We make an appeal to the international donors to enhance their commitments in order to fill out the fund gaps in the Joint Response Plan of 25-26. At the same time, we urge upon the stakeholders to undertake consolidated efforts for adequate and sustainable funding for future as well. Third point, all acts of violence against Rohingya must cease immediately. We urge upon the Myanmar authorities as well as the Arakan army to ensure safety, security, and livelihood of the Rohingyas. They should make sure that no more Rohingyas enter into Bangladesh. At the same time, they must allow internally displaced persons from camps in central and northern Rakhine to return to their homes inside Myanmar as soon as possible. Fourth point, a platform for consultation of dialogue consultation or dialogue is exigent for commencing communication, reducing tension, ending conflict among the ethnic communities inside Myanmar. We urge upon Myanmar government and de facto authorities in Rakhine to constructively engage in dialogue with the Rohingyas to promote reconciliation among themselves, restore rights of the Rohingyas and facilitate their speedy repatriation back to their homes. Fifth point, role of the international community, in particular ASEAN and countries in the neighborhood, is indispensable to create conducive environment in Rakhine. We all support all international efforts to this end, including ASEAN's 5-point consensus. We urge upon the international community to be more active in advancing peace, security, and stability in Rakhine and in the neighborhood. We need to address and combat transboundary organized crimes, including human and drug trafficking, smuggling of small arms, and criminal activities that impact peace, security, and stability. Sixth point, regional and international stakeholders must continue to stand resolutely against the heinous crime of ethnic cleansing. Towards that, we urge upon all to calibrate their relationship with Myanmar and Arakan Army and all parties to the conflict in order to promote an early resolution of the protracted crisis. Seventh and the final point, we urge upon the international community to add dynamism to the ongoing international accountability processes at the International Court of Justice, International Criminal Court, and elsewhere. We urge upon them to implement the provisional measures decided by ICJ, ensure justice and accountability, and put an end to the genocide and crimes against humanity. It is timely to reflect on realizing relevant aspects of restorative justice. Dear friends and partners, Rohingya crisis emanated from Myanmar, and the solution also lies in Myanmar. All parties must act to end the crisis with greater resolve without any further delay. Your solidarity with the Rohingyas' voice could be a beacon of hope for them in reversing their marginalization and persecution as the starting point of their return to their homeland. Let us all join our hands and pronounce our determination to contribute to the dignified return of the Rohingyas, ensuring justice and accountability. I thank you all. Assalamu alaikum.
সম্মেলনে জাতীয় নিরাপত্তা উপদেষ্টা ও প্রধান উপদেষ্টার রোহিঙ্গা বিষয়ক হাই রিপ্রেজেন্টেটিভ ডক্টর খলিলুর রহমান, পররাষ্ট্র উপদেষ্টা তৌহিদ হোসেন সহ সরকারের বিভিন্ন মন্ত্রণালয়ের উচ্চপদস্থ নীতি নির্ধারকরাও উপস্থিত ছিলেন। রোহিঙ্গা প্রত্যাবাসন ও টেকসই সমাধানের পথ খুঁজতে কক্সবাজারে 3 দিনের এই আন্তর্জাতিক সম্মেলন। এছাড়া সম্মেলনে অংশ নিয়েছেন বিশ্বের বিভিন্ন দেশের প্রতিনিধি, জাতিসংঘের কর্মকর্তা, উন্নয়ন সহযোগী সংস্থা ও সরকারের উচ্চপদস্থ কর্মকর্তারা। সম্মেলন শেষে প্রধান উপদেষ্টা ইনানি মেরিন ড্রাইভের পাশে একটি ফটো সেশনে অংশগ্রহণ করেন। এরপর তিনি বিমান বাংলাদেশ এয়ারলাইন্সের মাধ্যমে কক্সবাজার ত্যাগ করেন। বিডি ওয়ার্ল্ড নিউজ ডেস্ক।